I got to lower this a little bit. My name is Mark Nejame. N is in Nancy, E, capital J-A-M-E, senior partner in Nejame Law. We represent the 4 victims who were shot at, killed, or maimed by certain members of the Osceola County Sheriff's Office. We want to start, first of all, by thanking the State Attorney's Office, Mr. Bain, Mr. Williams, and Mr. Jay. They've been extremely professional to us throughout, and we believe that they strove towards fairness and identifying the issues that they could with the information that they had before them. We thank the grand jury. They are citizens who evaluated what they heard. Please understand we represent the families on civil matters. We have very little to do with the criminal case. However, we do know through our investigation that we have some serious questions. Many in the media have brought them out, as it related to the truthfulness and the transparency as it relates to certain statements, witness observations and such from certain members of the Osceola County Sheriff's Office. We believe that some of their statements are flat out dishonest and that they've been collaborated each with the other. We brought this to the attention of various law enforcement, and now we understand that the Department of Justice is in fact investigating the Osceola County Sheriff's Office. The sheriff acknowledged that apparently. And now we're ecstatic to hear that this grand jury on its presentment has said it ain't over yet. They want to find out more. It's almost impossible to get an indictment against law enforcement. We know that. Historically, statistically, it almost never happens. And why? Because in this particular instance, we know that from our investigation that certain matters have not aligned. We believe that there's been less than truthfulness that was presented to the grand jury, not by the Office of the State Attorney. We believe they acted extremely ethically and extremely professionally, but they could only play cards with those cards that were dealt to them. And so accordingly, they did their very best to present a fair, balanced witnesses to the grand jury. But we know and we believe from what we've investigated and what's been shared that some of the things that will come out further were not simply brought before the grand jury because the state doesn't have it yet. With that said, we are ecstatic. We are overjoyed. We expected this result to come from the grand jury. What we did not expect is for them to say, we want to get into it more. What are the policies? What are the procedures? What are the protocols that led to these unnecessary deaths, shootings, and maimings of these young people? So with that, we are ecstatic and very happy about the fact that in a month or so, we're going to hear more from this grand jury. We hope that they end up highlighting some of the various deficiencies. Why did they not get arrested in the first place when they knew that they had stolen $42 or $43 worth of Pokemon cards and a pizza? Why did they conduct training operations with civilians in a civilian parking lot, with civilians all around? Why were they shooting in the back of a window, trying to supposedly shoot the driver when they knew there was a passenger right behind the driver? Why did this unnecessary death happen? And why did these shootings occur when they didn't need to happen? And I'll share with you that I believe it's the policies, procedures, and protocols of Sheriff Lopez and the Osceola County Sheriff's Office. We're seeing too many things happen too many times in Osceola County. And we're hoping that this grand jury, as well as the federal grand jury, puts an end to these horrific practices that we've seen for too long and we've seen too many of. Thank you.
You said that we are ecstatic. You're speaking for yourself and the families. Are you saying that this decision was not discouraging to the families?
I'm sorry, I didn't fully hear you.
You said multiple times we are ecstatic. Was the decision by the grand jury discouraging for the families, or are they?
Thank you. The decision from the grand jury we expected. I told them all along. It's almost impossible, particularly with the obstructed videos that were had, particularly since there's been no civil case. There's been no criminal case where depositions could be handled and matters such as that. So this was entirely expected as it related to the grand jury coming back without bringing criminal charges. Remember, those are very different, though, than a civil case where you're showing negligence by a preponderance of the evidence. So we expected the grand jury to come back with indicating that they were not bringing charges. What we did not expect is for them to say they want to dig deeper and they want to come back and they want to address the issues from this department. So we're ecstatic about that. That doesn't happen often.
How do you feel about the state of the justice system in Osceola County?
Can you speak up, please?
How do you feel about the justice system in Osceola County?
Well, I think that we've got a prosecutor and we've got a state attorney and assistant state attorneys who are striving towards justice. But they are only part of the criminal justice system, just as defense lawyers are. And without law enforcement following the rules, creating policy, procedures, and protocols that are fair to the community, that are fair to other law enforcement, and without them creating policies which enable certain deputies to act in a renegade fashion, then we've got a missing wheel of what needs to be done for complete justice to be served. So I think that the people of Osceola County are shortchanged because some leadership within the Osceola County Sheriff's Office is deficient and grossly negligent much of the time.
Do you have any updates on the civil lawsuit side of things? The lawsuit that you guys filed back in September, where do we stand with that?
It's just moving through the system. It's a slow process. We have filed the lawsuit and we are moving forward with it, and when the time allows through procedure that we'll be taking depositions and digging deeper. It'll be too late for any criminal charges. Again, remember, we were simply the victims. Our clients were the victims. We had really nothing to do with the criminal aspect of it. So, but the civil will allow us to dig really deeper. And we're getting fed information. We've been fed information from various members of the community, law enforcement or otherwise, about what's been going on and what happened. It got brought out to you all, and you all did a wonderful job when we first pointed out that there were 5 reports that were filed days after this incident. They were all allegedly notarized, dated, timed the exact same time. Why were these reports filed so many days later? Why were they all seemingly collaborated with one another? Because you don't have everybody sign the exact same second, same minute. So those questions are there. We're very excited about what the federal government might be determining in their investigation through their grand jury, and we're very much looking forward to the civil discovery moving forward so the truth can come out. All we all want is transparency. All we want is for the truth to come out. If somebody made a mistake, let's address it. If somebody lied, let's address it. If somebody did something right, let's address it. But we don't believe all that's been done.
What does justice look like for families besides transparency?
Well, there's no way they can bring, the biases can bring their loved one back. There's no way that another client can bring his finger back. There's another one who had Mr. Gomez, who was shot 3 times. There's no way that we can bring that back. What we can do is have the grand juries, both the federal and the state, come back and say, this is wrong. Change your policies. This is negligent. This is grossly negligent. This endangers the public. How does it not endanger the public where you're running field training exercises on a public parking lot of Target, and there's civilians walking around, and you're shooting over 30 bullets into a vehicle? How is that protecting the public? They created this situation by not arresting the individuals for the petty theft in the first place. If they saw them steal something, then arrest them, kick them in the fanny and tell them to put it back, or give them a notice to appear. You don't go ahead and create dangerous blocking exercises to trainees, and then this series of events happens. That's wrong. It's negligent. The public needs to be better protected. And I will take one issue with what Mr. Bain said, who I respect for the way he's handled this throughout. Our client was not fleeing. There were no sirens on, there were no lights on, there were no marked vehicles or marked deputies. The first light that got shown, and you can see it in the video, was after Mr. Baez had already passed, the first time the light went on. And then there was a ramming. So, certain members of law enforcement are saying that he was trying to escape. First of all, you don't chase anybody for a misdemeanor, the petty theft. So it should have never happened. They put this whole series of events into place. So we do not accept the premise, and I'm not sure that the state does, but that was the side that certain members of law enforcement presented, that they were trying to flee at all. No lights, no marked vehicles, no uniformed deputies, no sirens. Then they got rammed. And then, within a few seconds, the series of events occurred.
Do you feel like this case would bring a trajectory to change in law enforcement in Osceola County?
I'm sorry, you got to speak up. I apologize.
Do you feel like this case is going to bring a change to law enforcement in Osceola County?
Well, I think that Osceola County will bring a change for what's been happening in Osceola County. Enough is enough. Read the blogs, read the comments. People are sick of this. And for those who say, always, you want to back the blue, but you want to back the blue when they're doing the right thing. And the vast majority are doing the right thing. But when leadership fails, when leadership is basically allowing certain deputies, not all, only a small handful, but to run rampant and to do the type of things that are being done, then there's something wrong with leadership. So we hope that with the federal grand jury, with the Department of Justice, and then we hope with this grand jury, with this continuing presentment, with this continuing a meeting that they're going to be having, that we hope that strong changes are effectuated. But if there's a culture of doing things the wrong way, then how do you change that culture? A piece of paper that says don't do this isn't enough. Common sense, policies, we believe the law already dictated none of this should have happened, but it did anyway. So this is a failure of policies, practices, and procedures. That's what happened here. Thank you all. Happy New Year.